Welcome back to our beginner triathlon training series, part 3 of how to train for your first triathlon, specifically a half iron distance triathlon. Now, if you have excitedly jumped the gun and come straight to part 3 of this series, then we fully recommend going back to part 1 and working your way through step by step, because we are working through a 12-week training plan, a training plan that you can actually access through TrainingPeaks with all the detail should you like. Now, we've already covered weeks 1 to 8, but now we're heading into the all-important final weeks 9 to 12 and the big race itself.
In these final 4 weeks of training, you're going to see your longest run of the plan as well as some other big workouts. But this is all going to be alongside trying to make sure you recover enough and you start to tune your body into race week.
Yeah, on which note, you can actually access this plan in detail within TrainingPeaks, along with some extra bonus videos from us. Oh yeah, lucky you. Now, in all seriousness, those videos are actually going to be talking you through the weeks ahead and some of the specific workouts. So really trying to help you out. And as I said, you can access this plan, but we're going to be popping the link for that in the description down below this video. You can also upload your training, in most cases automatically, to TrainingPeaks, either to keep it as a training log, or you can go one step further and start analysing your training, starting to look at the fatigue, stress scores, and much, much more. It's a fantastic resource. And before we dive into this plan, make sure you are subscribed to GTN so that you can see some of our other videos to help you with your training, and make sure you give this video a like.
Yeah, well, onto the plan itself. It's an interesting final 4 weeks because you are going to have your biggest weeks of the whole 12-week program, yet you're also going to have that taper week that leads you in. So we're starting at week 9 and you need to be ready to go here. And we've actually factored in week 8 a reflection week, which would have included in the last video. But this you really need to take seriously. It's yes, still a fair bit of training, but it's much lighter, and it's just enabling your body and your mind to have a little bit of back off so you're ready to really nail this final part.
Now in week 8, we're keen to get you doing what we call a T20. That's short for a timed 20-minute effort. Yeah, it's as pleasant as it sounds. Now, from that all-out 20-minute effort, we'll be able to ascertain your threshold swim pace, a pace that you should not go over or faster than on race day. Say, for instance, you managed to cover 1,200 meters in 20 minutes. Well, that would mean you've swum at a pace of 1 minute and 40 seconds per 100 meters, which would be pretty good going, if you ask me. And then we're going to put that to the test in week 9 with a threshold swim set with this new pace. And as with some of the bike and the run workouts that you've done up to this point, this is an opportunity to dial into your desired race pace and learn how it feels. And in case you're worried this is just one session, oh no, you'll be doing one of these per week to really tune into that pace. Lucky you. Now, there is one other very important thing to cover on the swimming front: open water swimming. Now, we have actually already discussed this in parts 1 and 2, and you'll have seen it in the plan if you've already got that on TrainingPeaks. But some of you may have put it off until now. Yes, I'm talking to you. And now it's time to do something about that. You'll see within the plan that you've got the option on some days to opt for an open water swim or a pool swim. I'd fully advise trying to get in and do those open water swims if you can, because this is an opportunity to practice things like sighting and that change of pace that you'll naturally experience in the open water. Now, if unfortunately you cannot, for whatever reason, get in the open water, it's not available to you, then at the very least, I'd recommend getting used to wearing the kit that you will be wearing in the open water. If that's just a tri-suit, a swim skin, or if you are going to be wearing a wetsuit, then try and wear that prior to race day. Of course, you will need to check with your local pool whether that's okay, but it will make a big difference if you can.
it's time to look at the race pace for the bike. And again, in week 8, you will have had your first sample of working at this effort with that sweet spot session. So sweet spot is often described as being comfortably uncomfortable. It sits at around a 6 to 7 out of 10 on the RPE scale and just underneath threshold, and it's one of the real key workouts, and you'll see this workout fitting in at least once a week, and it's going to be progressing over the next few weeks, and it's really vital for dialing in that race pace. So you want to make sure you turn up to these sessions ready to work hard, well fueled and hydrated, so you can get the most out of them. We should also address position. I know we talked about it in the video too, but as we get in these final efforts, it's important that you actually practice riding in a position you want to do on race day and efforts as well, because it's one thing riding along comfortably at a nice slow or easy pace on your aero bars, but you actually need to practice riding at race pace efforts. So these sweet spot sessions could be the perfect time to do that. Brick sessions, when you go from one discipline straight to another, as in triathlon, have become a regular part of your training plan. But from week 9, they are about to ramp up significantly. And it might seem a bit daunting to look at doing these, moving from a 2-hour to a 3.5-hour brick workout session. But when you think about it, alongside your weekly shorter brick workouts you've been doing, you've also had your long run and your long ride increasing. And this is now just going to be a combination of both in one epic brick workout. But just a word of warning, this is probably not going to feel great. It is a hard workout, and running off a hard bike rarely does. I mean, welcome to triathlon, guys. However, the more you practice it in training, the easier it'll become, and the more you'll be able to know how to cope with this feeling of fatigue when it comes to your race day.
Now for the running, and this is all about consistency. And many of you may notice that the plan doesn't actually include a 21.1 kilometre run or a half marathon distance run ever in the programme. And that may freak some of you out, but again, trust us on this one. In fact, we'd say that trying to cover a half marathon distance run isn't essential, especially in a 12-week program. Instead, we've built up the volume of the running and weekly volume gradually. So should you have hit that running consistently, you will be more than ready to cover that distance come race day. Talking of which, week 10 is the biggest week, and one you want to be ready for. It includes 2 build runs, which is going to work on that fatigue resistance, and one longer 16-kilometre run with 12 kilometres worth of target race pace efforts in there. And then as we move into the final weeks, weeks 11 and 12, well, it's time to start getting race ready.
And that brings us on to taper time. And you might think, yes, I can put my feet up and relax, but it's not quite that sweet. Yes, you do have a reduction in your volume, but the intensity is still going to stay there to make sure that your body is staying sharp. But it gives you time to make sure you can prioritize that rest and recovery, and also do some other things like make sure your bike is in working order, check all the rest of your kit, and really dial in and make sure you've bought all the nutrition that you're going to need.
Yeah, then moving on to the race itself, and make sure you focus on the job at hand. It can be very easy to get drawn into all the excitement around a race, such as the expo. Of course, feel free to have a gander, enjoy the experience of the event, but as I said, focus on the job at hand. Make sure you get those last key sessions in to sharpen you up. Go and check out the course, and then rack the bike and rest. Get an early dinner and a good night's sleep.
And then it is race morning, and yes, it's going to be an early start, but you want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time. I mean, what's getting up half an hour earlier when you're getting up at ridiculous o'clock anyway? So just always give yourself a little bit more than you think you might need, and make sure you allow around 3 hours to digest your breakfast.
Yeah, now we also appreciate that these races can be very daunting and nerve-wracking, but try to think of this as the fun part, the bit that you've been training for. I mean, after all, you were drawn into this sport for a reason, because it looked really exciting. Now, out there on race day, nobody's going to be judging you, so stick to your plan and have a blast.
Yeah, I think that's all for us to say is good luck.
Woohoo, best of luck.